Hello, and welcome to the 1+1=3 podcast with Eric Martorano, and I'm your host, Don Yeager. This is a brand new series that's guaranteed to bring you business insights and next level perspectives about how to navigate the space of partnerships successfully. In just a moment, you'll hear from my good friend, Eric Martorano, who is a game-breaking executive at Nextiva with a background in all things revenue, channel sales, partnerships, you name it. And my name, as I said, is Don Yeager. I am the +1 in this equation. I'm here to accelerate the discussion with lessons I've learned along the way to becoming an 11-time New York Times best-selling author and a leadership speaker. And beyond that, a great friend of Eric's. Eric, this is your show. Are you ready to dive in to the first official episode of the 1+1=3 podcast?
Absolutely, Don. It is game time. Yeah, I'm so excited to share so much of what I've learned over the years regarding sales and partnerships, specifically in the tech industry. So my day-to-day life is all about enhancing and improving good partnerships. So this new series gives me the chance to bring the wins and losses of partnerships front and center. So Don, let's do this.
I love it. And I love too that we're not just talking wins here. We're going to dig into losses and the ability to learn from them, right? Loss is not a failure. We got to learn from every one of them. So first, I know some listeners might be wondering, 1+1=3. I'm a Ball State University grad. I know you're not supposed to probably make fun of your university, but even I know that that's not how the math adds up. But then when you explained to me why you thought this is the equation of great partnerships, it totally made sense. Can you explain why you wanted to head in this direction, why you wanted this to be the topic of a podcast that you would offer to so many of those in our industry?
Well, Don, as we've talked about so many times, I think partnership is the core foundation to success. Let me clarify. I don't believe success is as basic as merely accomplishing a goal. Success needs to be viewed as exceeding expectations or overachieving. For example, one person or one company can make work towards a goal and reach their quota, mission accomplished. That same person or company can strike up a contract with another person or company and do more work because there's just much more to reach, more hands on deck. But when you can identify the values and operate a great partnership, you accelerate your work, expand your reach, and successfully exceed anything you could have done on your own. 1+1 is the partnership concept. But if you focus on getting the partnership right together, your success will add greater reward.
I do. I love the title because when you laid it out for me, I got it. My background, as we have discussed, I'm a sports guy and written most of my books around that area. And boy, there isn't a coach out there. There isn't a great leader out there that wouldn't tell you a community of people heading in the right direction is far greater than the number you have on your bench. I'd love to get, though, the definition in your mind of partnership. If you were teaching a master class in the subject, which is what I know this podcast is intended to be, I think the opening course is always in those classes a breakdown of what the concept of partnership would be in its basic form. Can you walk me through Partnership 101? What does it truly mean to build a partnership that you want us to be able to emulate as a result of listening to this content?
Absolutely. So whether it's in sports, in life, or definitely in business, a partnership is kind of an arrangement between two people, two entities, or more to manage and operate how they go about achieving the ultimate goal. So in Partnership 101, a lot of it has to be alignment on what success looks like. And you have to have clear communications. You have to have core values that are in common. And you have to understand, at least in my perspective, the road to getting to the ultimate North Star that you're both striving towards. In Partnership 101, a lot of it has to do with upfront communication and clarity and alignment. Making sure that both people or entities are 100% in agreement on what success looks like and the path to getting there, and that you're 100% invested in the journey.
So I love that alignment on how success will be defined together. Then it's about clarity in that alignment, making sure it's upfront and clear. And we know when there are adjustments or things that might need to be made, here's what they'll look like. And the core values in common, having a sense that we're actually looking out for the same things. And then finally, I love that idea that we know where the North Star is and what our pathway is going to be to try to take off in that direction. When you build those elements in, man, that's so powerful, because not every partnership by literal definition will be a great one. And you've been in a number of partnerships in your career, places where you've had a chance to work, whether it was in the United States or as far away as New Zealand. And of course, now at Nextiva, what an incredible organization. But based on your experience, what makes a partnership go from good to great? Everybody loves that Jim Collins phrase, right? Good to great. What takes it next level for you?
Great partnerships are ones to where both entities are invested. It goes beyond just exchanging a business card, signing a contract, verbally committing, but it's putting in time, effort, resources, and you're 100% all in and committed to the relationship and the partnership. The value add to one another is that you care about the benefit to your partner as much as you care about the benefit to yourself. A prime example of what I consider a great partnership, Don, it's you and I, right?
Love it.
We have had a partnership for so many years now, over a decade, right? We go back and I think about great partnership and what I've done at Microsoft, Intermedia, Accordo, and now Nextiva. I don't think I could be where I am today without the partnership that we have. You bring value to my workforce, and in turn, I think that our leaders are bringing value to your company and business pursuits. I've seen the growth in our partnership deliver time and time again. What I think has been so amazing is how we approach the partnership. We continuously are communicating. It's not just a customer-vendor relationship. It goes way deeper than that. I truly care about your success and I'm invested. You care about my success, you're invested. We're continually evaluating what success looks like. We're thinking about how we can get better together and ultimately achieve our joint goals as we're striving towards that North Star. When I think about the progress when I was at Microsoft and we engaged for the first time and you were delivering to the market and we took what you were delivering and brought it to life in our day-to-day business and how it really excelled our overall performance. And then as we were continuing to go on with what you delivered, we brought new ideas that kind of helped you, right?
Totally did. My team will actually joke when I've come back from a weekend where I've had the chance to spend time learning or just in your presence, that I often come back with a notebook and they're not looking forward to it because it usually means we've got Eric Martorano work to do because you've got these ideas. Don, what if you tackled this subject? Don, have you ever asked people this question? So our partnership has allowed both of us to grow, right? I'm better because you challenge me, and I hope you're better because I am able to kind of help
Absolutely.
and make those deliveries. That means a lot. And I want to make sure all know that you weren't paid to say that about me. Thank you very much. But the key is we really are definitely aligned in goals and concepts. We both are seeking regular improvement. How do we make ourselves more valuable to others? And, if you're constantly looking to bring value to others, then as you said right there, our core values are in line and in common. If you had to think about a couple of traits that you look for when you're trying to think about a great business partner, what kind of traits are you seeking in relationship?
Great question. There's really three that are top of mind to me right now. The first is making sure that we're aligned. There's a clear alignment between the partnership. The other two would be honesty and transparency. Let's take alignment. Alignment is paramount to us being able to move in a collective direction. And Nextiva, for example, our core values are simplicity, caring, and forward thinking. That's how we operate. And that's core to who we are. Sure, it will continue to evolve, but when we look to partner with somebody, we are looking for someone aligned with our core values. We look to partner with a person or a company that doesn't jeopardize our core values. So that
Well, that's
alignment, for
huge right
example,
there.
yeah, that alignment is critically important to us. And then there's honesty. We want to identify partners who won't lie to us. We want to be able to trust the person or the company that we're doing business with. I mean, our brand is at stake each time we enter into a partnership. So we want to find one who isn't just telling us what we want to hear. That's a key component too, right? Sometimes honesty requires being brutally honest. When it comes from a good place, that type of honesty can push you and challenge you to do more. Honesty means you will not go back on your word or show out a series of false promises just to get a deal done. We absolutely have to have honesty and integrity. And then there's transparency. It's a lot like honesty, but still different. Are you clearly communicating expectations with one another or holding something back just in case the deal goes south? I mean, no one wants to feel like they've been manipulated or played. And I've seen so many times business deals become sour once the transparency was violated. So I'm not saying you have to share every ingredient or reveal how the special sauce is made, but you should be upfront with items and systems that truly impact the partnership.
It's funny, Eric, when I look at those three, one that really stands out to me, and I know I've had these conversations with many great leaders in the world of sports, right? Again, we talk sports and business, how lessons from each can align one with the other. But that idea of that willingness to speak truth to each other, to honestly be able to communicate, it really does walk that line between honesty and transparency. Because, I mean, Nick Saban loves to say it all the time. You don't always want to hear what I have to say, but you will have no doubt what it means when I'm done saying it. Right now, sometimes he's a little more brutal and a little more rapid with his instruction than maybe some might appreciate. But I love that when you're in the presence of a guy like Nick Saban, without question where he stands on what it is he thinks of what you're doing. So that willingness to constantly speak honestly and truthfully to each other.
Mm.
Because today, where we all feel like we have to say what makes other people comfortable, that's the surest path to disaster, if you ask me, when you're thinking about a great partnership.
I agree 100%, Don.
So I love the checklist you offered there, right? You're talking about alignment, honesty, transparency, those identifiable traits in a great partner. So let's fast forward to after you establish the partnership, right? You got all the boxes checked. How do you keep it strong? It's one thing to kind of get the documents signed and the relationship growing, but then things sometimes come along that make the maintenance of a great partnership difficult. What are some things that you've experienced and how you keep and maintain a great partnership relationship?
I can't emphasize this one enough, Don. I mean, honestly, it's document, document, document. Write it down. When you build a plan of how the partnership will function and what the goals will be, you got to document it. When you have conversations about what should change in the direction of the partnership, you got to document it. Then make sure that you include checkpoints, right? Milestones along the way that requires you to measure what you're currently doing and then measure what you initially said you were going to do. Think about it. A lot can happen in a year. And the energy at the beginning of a partnership can make you completely aligned. But then changes in the market or the structure of the company could lead to the partnership going off course. My opinion, by documenting the alignment and revisiting it on a frequent basis, you are able to stay in tune with one another, communicate with one another, and even potentially troubleshoot with one another. It makes it so much easier to modify and adjust when you do routine checkpoints and reviews of the partnership. Oftentimes, the ones where both sides rely on just an annual touch point are the ones who you see their partnership go sideways. So it's so important to make sure that when you establish a relationship, you're documenting what success looks like. You're documenting the process and the approach, and then you're putting in those milestones along the way. Therefore, you're always on the same page and it's front and center.
I love that document. There was a book that I had the chance to work on a few years ago. You actually were one of those I got the chance to interview for it, about the habits of high performing teams, how great teams are built and maintained the exact subject that we're talking about here. And one of the other places I went was to Michigan State, where their basketball coach, Tom Izzo, is pretty extraordinary and has built a pretty long standing record of success. And he does exactly what you're talking about. At the beginning of every season, sits down with each player. They document together, what do you want to try to achieve this year? What would my relationship with you look like successfully if you achieved these things, right? The North Star. Mm-hmm. One of the things that Coach Izzo shared that was so great was that he keeps those cards, ultimately breaks it down to a 4x6 card, and then he keeps them in his pocket. Because during practice, if a player is not delivering on what is required to achieve what he said he wanted to achieve at the beginning of the season, coach can pull it out and say, by the way, I mean, if you want to alter the card, let me know. But if you want to deliver, if you really want to get there, but actually having the card, coach said, allowed the relationship to stay more open and more self-directed, which made honesty a greater element of the relationship. But when you talk about this idea that you don't want things to go sideways, your partnership to go sideways, that happening doesn't necessarily mean that either company is bad. It just means that the partnership might have gone off track, right?
Yeah.
Some of these sports world stories. And there's no denying, for example, how great Shaq was when he played in the NBA. So amazing. There's no denying how great Kobe was. And together, they were often great. They won 2 championships together, but their partnership derailed. And it did so, in my opinion, largely because of ego. They didn't have the appreciation for the other's contribution to the greatness of the pairing. When you start thinking about business partnerships like you've been engaged in, what are some of the things that you've seen destroy some of those partnerships?
Oh, well, many times in partnerships and larger corporations, there's change of personnel, for example, and there's not effective transition plans that are in place. When things aren't documented, it gets even more difficult. There's no reference point, for example, for those types of transitions. So as the changeover happens, the execution against the plan can go sideways. Again, I'll go back to document, communicate, have a rhythm of business that you're always managing towards, and make sure that you're always on the same page. And then when there is potentially change of personnel or anything like that, that there's a good handoff point and everybody's on the same page and aligned, and there's a clear direction of how to move forward.
I love that, right? It's that idea of transition plans and actually having some of those things documented. You're thinking about potential challenges when things are good. You're not waiting for things to get challenging to begin trying to scramble and come up with a plan for that. That really stands out. Can you share with me a way that you set out, maybe with someone new in a partnership, to make sure that the things you were building upon remained effective?
It really depends on the level of partnership. In a truly strategic partnership, it's the level of engagement. I mean, a channel partner, you will want to have executive level engagement at the beginning and then checkpoints along the way to make sure the teams are aligned along the journey. Plus, you must also go to the documentation to make sure there's a full understanding of how it started, where it is, and where the partnership needs to go. Quarterly business reviews, field engagement pipeline meetings are just a few examples of how to create a regular rhythm across all key stakeholders in the partnership. You must also make sure that there's solid plans for things like mergers or acquisitions, so that there is a change in personnel or leadership. You have documented how that would impact the partnership. It's being proactive instead of reactive. And when you're proactive, you're protecting and truly valuing the partnership.
So let's get specific, though. How does Eric Martorano and Nextiva go about identifying great partnerships so that they truly are a 1 + 1 = 3 opportunity?
Love the question. I mean, it all comes down to listening, Don. The most effective partnerships are the ones where leaders listen and seek to understand. They don't always put their ideas and beliefs front and center like it's the only idea. We have to be self-aware. it's amazing how the larger companies get less self-aware.
Isn't that the truth?
It is, absolutely. So they become oblivious to other factors and are often limited in their ability to react quickly to the market, address concerns. When the partnership is almost one-sided, my way only partnership, it's a dangerous one. I've seen it best, the ones where you're not necessarily the dominant player in the market, you're the challenger with a growth mindset. You are truly thinking innovatively about how I can do things differently and add more value. You need to be in tune with your customers, the market and competition. And a lot of that has to do with listening and being self-aware.
Listening, being self-aware. I love that concept there too, that sometimes the failure of becoming the dominant partner and dominant in an industry is you begin to believe you don't have to listen or be self-aware, which is, I would argue, probably why you identified earlier that many of them are not as self-aware. I think it's because they don't feel like they have to be, right? You're just lucky to do business with me.
Don, it happens way too often. I've seen it. I've been part of those situations and try to drive change within those organizations when these larger companies are just, it's their way or no way. And it's unfortunate.
Wow. I have to tell you, I know that today was just an intro, right? We are just digging in to try to explain why we want to talk about partnerships, how you want others to see them slightly differently, how you hope the experiences and the vision that you're bringing to it, that those are all gems that anyone in the partner space will be able to take from today's episode and then hopefully make them want to kind of jump in, join us again, listen for more, because as we get further into these discussions, we're going to get more tactical. We're actually going to break some of these down. We're going to talk about things like transition plans so that we can be more specific and leave each listener with the ability to be able to do those things. Eric, my friend, this has been fun, and it's just episode 1.
That's right. Just episode 1, Don. I mean, I'm looking forward to sharing so many more with our listeners this year on the 1 + 1 = 3. Thank you for being my partner in this series. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, Don.
Are you kidding me? I'm going to steal Tom Cruise and say you had me at hello. But before we end, can you tell our listeners some of the upcoming partnership topics we intend to tackle this year on the 1 + 1 = 3 podcast?
Yeah, episode 1 was Partnership 101, right? So with that framework in place, we'll now get to build on with discussions and lessons that I've learned, like when to know a partnership is not going to work and how to address maybe a one-sided partnership, things like that.
Eric, those are great topics, and I know there are more in store. I can't wait to continue these conversations with you. I know you'll bring the wisdom. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the 1 + 1 = 3 podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And also, if you have a pain point, right, a challenge, a question, or you have some advice that you're looking for in this space, in the world of partnership, when it comes to your business partnerships, let us know. Send it to us, and our goal will be to answer your questions on a future episode.
That will be fun, Don. Ask away. If my experience in this space can help at least one person, then I'm all for it.
That's awesome. He's Eric Martorano, and I'm Don Yeager. Thank you for listening to the 1 + 1 = 3 podcast.